There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is our fifth virtual garage tour. I'm Paul Cito. I am chapter president for National Capital Chapter, as well as national events director for M Chapter. Tonight, we will go through three of our members' garages. I also have on here Todd Backestow, who will help MC tonight. And first, I want to give you guys an intro for what we do for M Chapter. So a lot of you may not necessarily be an M Chapter yet, but you can definitely join. It's only an additional $15 a year or $15.30 a year added to your normal CCA account with your local chapter. But we've been around now since 2000 and 2020. So we started during COVID. Great year to start a chapter, right? So we almost have I think we're 1,800 plus members in about 4 or 5 years. We have a pretty robust schedule, a lot of national events, a lot of local events. Some of the events that we've done or we have scheduled this year where we go and have, we just came back from Daytona from the 24-hour race. But we have Amelia Island coming up pretty soon in early March, where we'll do a big 50-car display with BMW North America to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the 3 Series this year. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll be at a couple different BMW tuner shows like Bimmer Invasion in West Palm Beach and Impact in Austin and Impact and Poconos later on this year. There'll be another Bimmer Invasion on the West Coast, probably in September. So we got a lot of events coming up. I encourage you guys to come check out our website, our Facebook page, our social media, Instagram, where we have pretty much our schedule and what's coming up for M Chapter. So we also have our biggest event of the year coming up, which is in April 24th through the 27th, which is MIX. In our hometown of Greer, South Carolina. We will hopefully get registration open this week. And we have a ton of driving events and social events going on that weekend, that extended weekend. We have caravans coming in from different parts of the country. On Thursday, Friday, we have a full day M School at the BMW Performance Center. Saturday, we have a big Cars and Coffee at our BMW CCA headquarters, as well as a Taste of M driving event at the BMW Performance Center on Saturday. And then we have a couple of driving tours scheduled. And then Sunday, we finish it up with the ultimate skid pad experience at the Michelin Proving Grounds, which is not too far away from Greer. If you've never done this event, this is absolutely incredible. The biggest skid pad I've ever seen, about a half a mile long. And we pretty much practice all day drifting and working on car control. So look for more promo coming on that this week and next week. Again, registration hopefully will open by the end of this week. If you have any questions specifically about the event, you can always email me. Hopefully you got my email from Zoom for the Zoom today. So you can always contact me whenever you like. And that's all I have right now for M Chapter. So I want to kick it off over to Todd, who is our MC tonight. So Todd, what do you got?
Thanks, Paul. And thanks everyone for joining tonight. We're really thrilled to be hosting our fifth virtual garage event. And also a very special thank you up front to the members that are presenting tonight and willing to share a little bit about their garages and their experiences enjoying them as well. So as far as what to expect, to talk a little bit about the event. So this event has been going on since 2021. We started it during COVID. And when we weren't able to go out to some of the in-person events, we had this idea of, hey, well, what if we could see what people are up to and working on at their homes, and how are they enjoying their hobby in that setting? So the great thing is that the event, we had a lot of fun with the event. We've learned a lot. We had a chance to write a couple articles as well for our club magazine, the DB, so we've continued doing it, and so really thrilled to be able to continue the event tonight. So in terms of what to expect, just a little bit about variety of topics include, it could be for flooring, could be storage. The event's designed to be interactive, so the format will follow presentations from each of the members with brief slides, and then they'll give a tour of their garages, and then we'll go to members. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, and then we'll also have dedicated time for Q&A at the end. So two just kind of administrative reminders. One is please stay on mute. Paul will mute you if we're getting background noise. And then the second is when we actually have the video tour, I'm going to stop sharing the slides. And what I recommend is going to making the presenter full screen or the speaker full screen. That'll be the best viewing experience where you can really follow along, so you won't see all the other participants, but really focus in on the tour. And the last part I'll say is, it's interesting. I think each of these events we haven't started out with a particular theme in mind. We've been able to, we've had participants volunteer and have shared a little bit about their garages and some of their experiences, but inevitably we have a theme that ends up falling out of just the topics that the presenters are covering. I think that if I had to say for tonight, I mean, I'll judge for yourself if you have a chance to see the presentations, but what was really impressive, each of the garages that are presented tonight, they're both a combination of they're excellent places to enjoy all the members' BMWs, and there's storage, there's entertainment, but then they're also, you'll see engines and the projects that are in progress. So these garages have a little bit of everything going on. They're not just a workshop, they're not just a showroom, but they have some elements of each of those features. So thank you again. And with that, we'll go ahead and turn things over to Patrick for the first presentation.
All right.
Patrick, go ahead, take it away.
All right, thanks a lot, Todd, and good evening, everyone. I'm thrilled to be able to share my garage story. So Patrick Gordon, I live in Westchester County, New York. I have been a CCA member for over 20 years. My first car ever was a BMW 2002, and I've been a BMW fan ever since. And I have dreamed for a long time about having a garage, and finally last year I was actually able to build that dream garage. And so again, I'm thrilled to share that with you. Some of the inspiration for that garage, by the way, came from watching prior editions of exactly this presentation. So I got a lot of ideas from that, and I hope similarly you guys will get some ideas and thoughts from my presentation and the two presentations to follow. So with that, Todd, let me dive in and go to the next page. So first and foremost, I think this is sort of mission critical, is to make sure you have design objectives or objectives for your garage. This was a build from scratch for me. And so we spent a lot of time iterating on this, but I had a handful of design objectives and technical objectives. First was I wanted a detached garage that could definitely hold 4 cars, but I also wanted it to be adjacent to a state-of-the-art home office. I had a home office underground for many years, and I figured as long as I was building a garage, I would also try and squeeze in a home office as well. So that was objective number 1. I also wanted to make sure we matched the aesthetic of the house. So you didn't want it to look like something that had sort of been built as a, as a complete adjacency. You wanted to sort of match the flow of the house. We also wanted, and this is also part of what our neighborhood insists on, to limit plant and tree removal. So we were also trying to make sure we fit things in a certain footprint. I wanted it to have a showroom look and feel. I love going into showrooms and looking at cars. I love how clean showrooms look when you go in. So I wanted to see if I could get that same feeling in the garage. Where possible, I wanted it to be BMW themed. And to build on a point that Todd made earlier, I wanted it to be a flexible space. First and foremost, it's a garage, but with the cars removed, could it be something more flexible where you could have an entertainment center or a large meeting room? So that was part of what we were thinking through as we were looking at design. And then, of course, you want expansion. Hopefully, I'll have the ability to buy more cars. And so you wanted the ability to have optional expansion, maybe with a two-post lift in the future. So that was objectives from a design standpoint. From a technical standpoint, two big things to consider. One was, future proofing, so that when we do an EV transition, all of the cabling is there for that. And the second thing was making sure we had all the functioning lift and accessories that allow you to truly just work on cars. So those were the design objectives. And if we go to the next page, the big thing here is then to convert those design objectives into an actual schematic. And in my case, I retained an architect to help because there was enough complexity and trying to make things match the look and feel. And where we ended up was approximately 1,400 square feet of new enclosed construction. That's both an office and an adjacent garage. It was integrated with an existing carport with the same look and feel as the house. We put in front of it a 25-foot wide stone driveway and also set up a new patio area, so sort of built around the garage. 16-foot high ceilings, steel beams so we could minimize the need for any support posts within the garage. Lots and lots of light, multiple windows. And the entire design phase took us about 4 months, and then build took us about 9 months. And if we just go to the next page, where we were going, before everything was outdoor parking. So my precious BMWs were parked outside in the elements. That's the sort of the before picture. During,
We're not seeing the pictures. We're not seeing your presentation.
Oh,
I'm seeing it.
seeing.
Yeah, I'm seeing
Yeah,
it.
I'm seeing it as well.
I'm gonna go out and come back in. Maybe something's up. Sorry.
No problem. Shoot. I'd hate to have to do all that all over again. So yeah, so you can sort of see what things look like before. During, again, this is new construction. If you look to the left in that middle picture, you actually see the existing carport. So we're kind of building around that carport. And we'll get to this in a little bit more detail. Obviously, where we are now is we have both the existing carport parking and the four-car garage parking. In terms of features, and I'll go to the next page, I'm not going to drain this slide. This is more here for you as a reference if you're looking at this afterwards. But, on the left-hand side is the office. And here we're just trying to make sure we had all the features you might expect from a state-of-the-art home office, particularly when it comes to things like video conferencing and connectivity. And then on the right-hand side, and again, we're going to do a walking tour here in a sec, are all the features that are built into the core garage itself. So that in a summary, and we'll just go quickly to the next slide, is sort of the setup. And what I'd like to do is take you on a walking tour of both the office and the garage. It is all about the cars. You'll see a quick list there of the cars. But for tonight, I'm probably just going to highlight the BMW since this is a BMW meeting. So with that, I'm just going to switch cameras here and we'll start the walking tour here in just a second. So the way to think about this walking tour, and we'll just sort of pan starting all the way to this is the walkway entrance from the carport into the garage. We have a bathroom in this office that I'm sitting in. You'll see that we've got a refreshment center. That's probably one of the most important things. We've got shelving above that. And then one of the cool things we did for the office is you sort of scroll up, you'll see that we have a bookshelf that sort of wraps around the entire office area. Obviously, I have the desk that you see me presenting from. Behind me is that patio area that I talked about behind these sliding doors. I've got my printer down here, so pretty much a standalone office. And then sort of the thing that makes this, I think, sort of an outstanding home office is I've got a smart TV and a regular TV. I can do almost any kind of conferencing, video conferencing, you name it, just from this office. So, you know, checking the box in terms of achieving what I wanted to from a home office. And I get to sit in this home office and look into my garage. And that's my favorite thing, which is I could be on a conference call and still be looking in the garage, particularly when I doze off. So now let's cross over into the garage. And I'll turn on the light. And the first thing you'll notice is these beautiful hex LED lights. That was a key feature of the garage. The second thing that you might notice is the color scheme, which is a BMW color scheme. You know, the black, the blue, and the white. The black here is a Rhino trim, which we do. It's easy to clean, followed by the blue BMW, and then everything, all the windows have white trim. The way we set up the garage, and this was a trade-off, we wanted it to have a lot of space. I talked about that. We thought about a post lift. We ended up going with this Atlas 9,000-pound lift. And it's a scissors lift. It recesses completely in, so then you get all of the space. The controls for the lift are in the corner here. And so we were able to control everything from there. And then if you sort of step back, we did an instrument or an electrical panel. And then this is one of my personal favorites. I got this cool set of M lights, and this is a display that when I'm working on the cars in the evening, I like to have that display up. If you just follow me through the rest of the garage, here's my very loud and large Jenny air compressor. I've got a camera in here, and this is one of those AI cameras that can follow you all around, so I can be working on the cars and talking to somebody. I can talk to my mechanic about what I'm doing via video conference. My Snap-on toolkit, my air compressor hose, my sink with a little bit of storage. And then here are my all my summer tires right now stored, as well as some carbon rims from one of my cars. And then over on this wall, and I'm just going to open up the garage doors. You can't see it because it's dark here, but behind this wall is where we keep some storage, and we also have a lift to raise up engines. And we just keep, there's about a 6-foot wide storage area behind here, so we can slide things back behind there. And then the other thing that we have in here, and this is kind of back to the, can it be an entertainment or can it be sort of a mixed mode, is a 98-inch TV with surround sound. It's actually quite functional. You can watch how-to YouTube videos while you're actually working on the car on the lift. So it's not just for entertainment, it actually can be very functional as you're working on your cars in the garage. So that's a little bit of a tour of the sort of the components of the garage. Now, where are the residents of the garage, you might ask? I actually have them parked outside. So I'm going to just talk about 3 of the residents of the garage. First, over here is my 2016 BMW M4 GTS. So you guys know there were 800 of these built worldwide. This is my track toy. And this car is just amazing and balanced on the track. And one of my favorite little sort of tech features of this is the water injection system that they did on this car, which adds another 50 horsepower to the car. Next is my 2011 E90 M3. And this is the best naturally aspirated V8 engine in the world. This is my daily driver. This is the car where no matter what kind of mood I'm in, bad mood, if I drive this car, it will put a smile on my face. Whereas the GTS was stock, this one I've done 2 modifications, forged line rims, and a Dynon Stage 1 kit, but still pretty stock and still just a blast to drive. And this is one where you get balance both on the track and on the road. And then last but not least, this is a 1995 BMW 318 Ti. Don't know how many of you have heard the story, but back in the mid-90s, BMW made a prototype of something called the M3 Compact, and then decided not to put it into production. So this is my attempt, it's a project car, to sort of recreate the spirit of that car. So the donor car here was a Burgundy 95 with 88,000 miles on it. I've redone it in Hellrot Red. It's BBS rims, the full M kit, a new engine from an outfit called Metric Mechanic in the Midwest. And then again, coilovers, a spoiler, dual exhaust, but this is the project car. This is the thing that will make the most use of the garage in the days and weeks to come. And I'm still breaking in the engine on this one. But this is why you want a garage, because this is where you can have fun with cars like this. So that's just a quick walkthrough of the garage, the cars in the garage, and I look forward to answering any questions you guys might have in Q&A. And with that, I'll turn it back over. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Patrick. Yeah, fabulous garage and excellent tour. So we really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and if there's any immediate questions, we can take one or two, but I'm going to go ahead and share the slides again, and we'll go over to Melissa and Zach's garage. Okay, over to Melissa and Zach.
Thanks, Todd. So everyone, thanks for joining this evening in the webinar. I'm Melissa Cunningham. You may know me from writing the mini columns in the Roundel magazine. I joined the BMW CCA back in 2010, and we are Allegheny chapter members, so we are in the Pittsburgh area of Pennsylvania. And we're excited to show our garage tonight with you and all the different projects and features that we'll get into later. I joined the BMW CCA originally to do track time because I really wanted to further expand my knowledge and turning laps in some of the greatest road courses in the country. But what I found over the years is that the club is more about the people, and the cars are a bonus as well. But I found many great friendships and many great people during my years of being a CCA member. So I hope to meet some new people and have some great questions about our garage from the webinar. So some of the features, so this was a ground up build back in 2018. We were limited, unlike some of the other presentations you'll see tonight. So this is actually our second garage. This is our second location. So in the future slides, you'll see some cars that are not here because they're at our other location. At this location, we were limited to space. So this is a 30 by 50 pole barn with 12.5-foot ceilings. We were limited to that size because at the back of the garage is actually solid rock on the property. So we had to space the garage in the confines with an easement on the one side and also the rock in the back. So it is a fully metal exterior. We put the gray and the blue to match the house that is next to the garage, and also the larger garage doors in order to be able to fit larger vehicles and maybe taller vehicles in the regular standard door. We did put in 4-inch concrete flooring just to accommodate the lift and the weight of the lift for any future projects. And we want to do the whole floor that way just so that if we wanted to add a lift on the other side, then we have that capability as well. Our lift right now, and I'll get to that a little bit later, we've also learned as we went along, and I'll point some of those features out. And the forward lift that's on the screen here, that's also one of the features that we learned as we went. And that is an upgrade that I'll go over here in a few moments. So we wanted to use this garage. It is a functional working garage that we actually do maintenance and repair to our fleet. And the purpose of our garage, and they were talking about multi-use space, this is the weekend hangout garage. So if our friends have a project car that they want to work on, you'll see our fellow chapter members, M3 on the lift here behind me in a moment. We really want to help our friends and have just a great time on the weekends working in this garage. So that's what the multi-use space is. So there's stories and working on cars and watching racing and everything on the weekends. but all the walls and ceilings are insulated, so that we can do all this year round. We did upgrade to the BTU heater that I'll show. That was another upgrade that we learned as we went, that it wasn't big enough the first time. Or the air conditioning is actually provided. You can see on this one photo there, in the top right hand side there. It's actually a air conditioning unit from a mobile home that we got for free, and we use that to cool the garage during the summer months here in Pennsylvania. And the air compressor, which has its own story that I'll get to and show you, it is a very quiet 1955 model, which I think is very unique and a unique piece to our garage. And it's great to be able to share that wonderful piece of history too. So obviously it's a car club, so we wanted to go over some of the cars in our stable. Obviously, you guys, as I said, you know me from the mini column, so we do have several minis in our stable. We also have a 2002. I'll show you the 98 M3 that's here in our garage. But we also have an 04, 05, 2015 Mini, the 21 JCW Clubman, and some of the other cars that's on there. Yes, that does say 76 AMC Pacer. I know that's not one that people usually see very often. The 2012 Ford Mustang GT is my husband's track toy. So that's just kind of our stable and our flavor of cars that we have right now. And there are some additional photos of the cars that we have. So with that, then we will start the tour of the garage. So I kind of wanted to break this up in quadrants or sections of the garage to try to make it easier now that we pointed out some of the features. So the first part I wanted to start here in the garage. So we've also, in addition to having like the weekend hangout spot, we also wanted to learn how to not eat takeout food all the time. So we are trying and learning how to make our own smoked meats. So that is our smoker that we have. We've actually done brisket, salmon, ribs, and a few other, and pork shoulder. So we're learning as we go with that as well, so that we don't have to eat out all the time and have a meal with friends over the weekend and working on cars. Also in our garage, we do have a sandblasting cabinet, so we can refinish parts and then repaint them, so that we can use some of the older pieces versus trying to find new pieces and make them look new again. Next to that, we also have a press and bottle jack that we use for the control arm bushing and the bearings, and we actually try to do that all here. I will spin around now. Thanks for the patience. So the forward lift that we have here, as I said, it was a upgrade that we learned, unfortunately, the hard way. The first lift always go back to the and then now we have a 1,000-pound lift that is a complete lift. Also, the forward lift, we found had much better arms for lifting vehicles. Now, as you can see, now we have one of our chapter members, 95 M3, that we have on the lift. We are actually doing the drivetrain and everything. So this has been taking multiple weekends to complete, but he will have a running and driving car. And we really wanted to help this chapter member because the car sat for about 4 or 5 years. We really wanted to help get him get his M3 back on the road again. So to turn, this is now my M3. I do also take this on the track, as you heard the other members, and you'll probably hear that throughout the webinar. This is a 98 M3 in Arctic Silver. I am the second owner of this car. There is 67,500 miles on it. It does have the M Motorsport European handles. It also has the late model European steering wheel. And it also has a partial cage in the back because this is a track car. There is BBS wheels, big brakes on the front, and I did actually take this car to Barber in 2019 and pit race whenever the O-Fest was there. And I'm sure you see in the back, so this is our BMW CCA O-Fest banner that we won at an auction at the BMW CCA Foundation. And this is from our O-Fest event when our chapter hosted the event here in Pittsburgh. That was a great event and the anniversary of the O2, which is why we bought our O2 to be able to take to that event. And our Allegheny chapter, if you've ever seen or been to a PVGP event, the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, the chapter member is a drinking couple with a car problem. So if you ever see that shirt or a motto, that's definitely our chapter in a nutshell. The next part that I wanted to point out on the wall, we actually were lucky enough whenever the home office changed out their banners, that one happened to end up in our car on our way back to Pennsylvania from South Carolina. So that is actually one of the banners that the CCA office uses to promote the events and to direct people towards the event as you drive to the CCA office or to one of the events hosted by the organization. This is the original M3 motor that came out of the car that you see on the left. Also in this spot, my R53 will be sitting here. Next weekend, we're going to get it from South Carolina. I was lucky enough to have the R53 be a part of the mini exhibit that was at the CCA Foundation. So that I'll be able to get that car back after being on loan for over a year. And I miss that car very much. So this is where the car will go whenever we get it back this weekend. The other car that is in here is my mother's 2012 Countryman that she bought new. It is an R60 Countryman, and it does have less than 40,000 miles on it. So that's also sits in here in the garage. And as we move further on back, you'll see the heater that I was talking about earlier. So the previous heater we had was 60,000 BTUs, and in this garage during the colder Pennsylvania winters, unfortunately, it could not keep up. So as I said, we learned the hard way. It is fed by propane, and we've upgraded to 125,000 BTUs. Also, you can see back here that we added a storage loft to hold odds and ends. So there are seats, spare wheels, and just a general catch-all for anything. And we like to use that just to keep everything out of the way on the floor. And now to one of the most important aspects of any garage is the beer fridge and the beverage fridge. And I'm sure you've heard the anecdote that stickers add horsepower. So as you see, this fridge is very powerful for both stickers. And there's a cornucopia of stickers based off of our travels or parts that we've used, or just general stickers from the boxes that you get in buying parts. The edge would sticker somewhere. So this is my version of the MTV cribs. So you're supposed to look in the fridge, right? So this is what's in the fridge. There we go, drinking beer. So the other, one of the last sections, excuse me, of the garage, we use a whiteboard to keep track of what our project is. I think it's a great way, so everybody's on literally the same page of what's going on in the project, which still has to be done, so nothing gets missed. And it's a great way to keep on track. And then we also have state inspection in Pennsylvania, so that's all of our listings of when all the cars are due for state inspection, so we don't forget to do any of them. And lastly, the last part that I wanted to show, so back here, we do have a workbench, so we do have a grinder and also a vise for anything that we may be working on. And there is the vintage air compressor that is very quiet. And real quick, the story behind this is I worked with a gentleman whose father owned a cabinet shop, and the compressor was part of the cabinet shop, so it always sat inside and never sat outside. And it was always in a basement with control. So the area was always like well taken care of. So we were thinking it will outlive all of us, still be running by the time. And we can use it for any project that we need, and basically it never has let us down yet. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over. So I appreciate the time tonight and look forward to any questions that you may have.
Would you mind sharing, approximately how much that whole project costs? It's good for those of us who are thinking about expanding like that to know. I had the same question for Patrick too, just.
So I guess I'll answer first thing, because I don't know if Patrick's still on mute. So to my knowledge, it was between, because it was ground up, so it's between like 25 to 30,000.
And that was a lot of the installation and a lot of the inside work and stuff like that. We actually, her father and I did ourselves just to try to cut down a little bit of cost. So on like weekends, we spent to put all the insulation up and everything. We rented a set of scaffolding and we did it me and him did it in one day. And of course we had to pick the hottest day in summer, and you're up on scaffolding and it's nice and warm in here at that point. But so it was like in between 25 and 30 grand and 18. So give or take, I definitely give some more this time.
Sure, that's I think everybody would jump at those prices nowadays.
Right?
Exactly.
I don't know if Patrick's on, if you heard that question.
Sorry, let me get off of mute. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so this is going to be like a little bit of a non-answer, but it'll come with a little bit of commitment, which is I spent more than the amount that that was just described. But I think you have to put it in context, right? Which is, starting from scratch, what's the neighborhood you're doing it in? What's the average cost of construction? So the commitment I would make is I'm happy to share offline rather than in this broad forum, just a breakdown of what we did, how much we paid for architect, how much we paid for construction, why we paid what we paid. But yeah, the number would be a little bit scarier, I think, if I just threw it out to everyone tonight.
Well, we respect that, appreciate that. I think it's just, and you're in a different part of the country, everybody knows that there's a lot of variables. But I think it was just a little bit of perspective that I was looking for anyway. But I would guess I'll guess for the group probably somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000. But it looks beautiful, and you have that driveway that you put in, and certainly a great investment. I don't think you can go wrong with your property.
Yeah, you must be an assessor. But yeah, I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share details offline.
I know there's still one more I think that we're going to go through, but have Patrick or Zach, and have you guys had to deal with HOAs, or did you have to run any of that through, or you just maybe just local governance and code and so forth?
So we actually are in, there's no HOA here. We are actually just in, it isn't a neighborhood, but it's a farm that was sold by the farmer, then people bought lots within like a road. So it's not an HOA. Like I said, we are more, we did an easement for the one property line, but that was it. Like otherwise we were limited by the just space between the house and that one property line.
Great, thanks. Patrick, I'm assuming you just had state and local governments to deal with too?
And yeah, and I just say for me, the biggest obstacle was the local, right? The town has all kinds of interesting things that I hadn't discovered before. Every time you take out a tree, you need to plant 3 more, and so that was probably the hardest thing to deal with. In the end, a big learning for us was we spent a lot of time trying to design around our existing trees, and we have a lot of trees. And at some point, we got to a point where we said, you know what? We only get to build this garage once. We'll take out 3 or 4 older trees, and we'll plant back 30 fresh trees.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey guys, we're gonna move on to our last presenter. We will definitely have a Q&A session for all 3 presenters as well at the end of Jeff's presentation. So Jeff, are you out there?
I'm out here in the ether somewhere, if you can all hear me and see the presentation.
All right, floor's all yours.
All right, we're good to go. Well, this is an interesting discussion. The first part being that don't ask me what the garage cost was. It's basically a room on my house. So it's basically incorporated into that. So having that question for the others was good timing because it's not a question that I can answer. I'm Jeff Cannon. Welcome to Jeff's Last Garage. That's what we call it. I have been a BMW CCA member for over 30 years now. It's been a very long journey with a lot of cars. In fact, I got this book here, Vehicles Own Log and Picture Book, that one of my daughters gave to me, that has basically the list of everything that I've owned, including a very long list of BMWs. And what I want to show you tonight, though, is I'm not only a member of BMW Club, but I'm currently also a member of the Porsche Club, Lotus Club, Viper Club. But I always come back to BMW CCA. It is basically my home. It's been my roots. It's the cars that I've learned to grow up with. My first one being an 83 533i that I then taught my wife to drive a manual on. And so that created a very long list of cars that we have owned over the years. I even had the opportunity once to sell my 325 iX, my 88. It was a gray market car. I sold it to Satch Carlson about 22, 3 years ago. A couple of great stories about that car in the Roundel back then. He actually took two issues in order to write about his journey back to Alaska. But that being aside, welcome to Jeff's Garage. Could I have the next slide, please? So I am actually an architect by trade and training, even though that's not what I practice. So when I started looking at this garage, and we call it Jeff's Last Garage because it's basically this is our forever home. When we were looking at different places around the country and blah blah blah. About where to build a house, but then my daughter and her husband, who happened to live down the street, decided to have children, and he's got a large family, so they're staying here. So my wife said, "We're staying here." All right. So then came the journey. So I've been in this garage for 2 years now. It took about 2 years to actually build the house, and there was a lot of planning that went into this house, a lot of considerations. The entire house and the shape of the garage was really dictated by the shape of the lot that we were in. Other folks said there was a question about HOAs earlier, and we actually, Columbia, Maryland is an HOA, the whole city. However, we happen to have found the very last piece of property right in the middle of the city that was not controlled by the Columbia Association. So they had actually no say over what we did, planned, and designed, which was great. The only thing is, I'll note one thing when we start looking at the floor plans. So the major considerations for this garage, being my last garage, was that it needed to have floor space for at least 4 cars, very high ceiling, 14 feet, so that we could put in lifts and put more cars up. I wanted it heated and cooled, so it has air conditioning and it has heat. And by the way, the size of the space dictated a 1.5 ton unit for anyone who's taking notes out there on the heating and air conditioning. And but I also love nice days, days when the temperatures are great outside from 60 to 80 to open the doors. So we really also wanted the garage to be able to breathe. So besides the large garage doors, there are windows that are at a nice secure level above about 8 feet up. And then there's a patio door in the back so that we can actually open everything up and have great airflow through the garage. But there were a lot of considerations that we wanted to put in too. If you want to go to the next slide and start talking about some of those. So as you notice in the first slide, I collect a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff on the walls here, a lot of 164s, 143s, 118s, pretty big collection that seems to keep growing. I have a disease. And I can't seem to kick it. But if you look at the plans there in the middle of this page, you'll note the orientation of the garage. We really wanted the garage to have a southern and a southeastern and eastern exposure so that I could take advantage of a lot of passive heating and cooling in the garage, plus being able to melt snow and ice on the driveway, because we're in Maryland, we get all of that. And so you also see the length of the garage, which I said earlier was dictated by the boundaries of the lot, which we built all the way to the as far out as we could in the offsets. But you'll notice that kind of strange corner down there. Well, the garage had originally been squared off, and then the county came back to us and said that we were putting that corner onto a gas easement for my neighbor's house. To which I replied, why on earth did somebody put a gas line on my property? To which they replied, well, there wasn't any asphalt here before, so they went around the existing asphalt and went on your property. So I had to cut off the edge of my garage there, where I originally would have had a couple of 10 by 10 doors. And now we had a 10 by 10 and a 10 by 8 in order for one to slip underneath the other one when it opens. Kind of a slick movement. You'll see in the picture there on the left, the differences in the heights of the two doors, but that also helps for both the doors to be open at the same time. Please move forward to the next slide. One of the big considerations in designing the garage from the beginning was that we knew I was going to have a lift in here, at least one two-post lift. And in the future, I'll have 4 points. But the 2-point lift really needed, in my opinion, needed to have a fair amount of structure underneath it. So what you're looking at here is if you're planning a new garage, or if you're planning to put a lift into an existing garage, I would highly recommend that you understand the density of your concrete. Most residential houses have about 3,000 or 3,500 PSI concrete in their floors, and it usually goes from 3 to 4 inches. But knowing that I was going to put a 2-point lift in here with a 10,000 pound capacity, because I do have a truck outside also, I wanted to put in what they call a grade beam, which is a concrete beam that was going to go under where the 2 points of the lift were going to go. So it is the width of the beam, plus it's about 12 inches deep. And I thought that we wanted that for safety reasons, plus the reinforced concrete also has 5,000 PSI. So we went for a much heavier, much stronger concrete, plus putting a beam underneath where the lift was going to go. So that was all planned ahead of time. If you want to go to the next one, please. So as you can see, it's kind of it's kind of the way things look today. One of the perspectives in there. A lot of considerations went into here. You'll notice that we have the hex lights on the top, just as Patrick had. Mine happened to be mounted directly to the ceiling. I think his were suspended a little bit. And then floor covering, yeah, we went with BMW and kind of in blue there, Sam. And well, you see a few of the cars, the projects there. So I'm kind of the flooring. It was really it's a fantastic product, but it was not particularly cheap. It was about $1,500 for just 5 gallons of this, plus 2 of the other components that go into it. So, but I have to tell you, after being in here for 2 years with all the work that's been going on in here, it has held up remarkably well, which is kind of why I wanted to highlight that. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Well, as I noted earlier, we collect things around here. I have a large collection of 164, 143, and 118 scale stuff, and a lot of BMW stuff. So maybe now, let's see, why don't we see if we can move on to the next slide, if there is one. If not, we might want to just take a little walk around. So let's take a tour. So since my video guy is around someplace, but didn't make it up in his delayed flight from Florida, we're going to go ahead and use my phone on a stick here. We're going to go down to this far corner over here and give you a perspective of the depth of the garage as we go through. Then also you'll see up here, we've got, a lot of the collection of the cars. You go down lower. I got my own little cars and coffee going on down here. As we move around the garage, we'll see there are a lot of things, a lot of BMW related materials. I know some of this might be backwards to you, but right there you've got one Euro M. I actually had an M535i once, an E12. Fantastic car. Wish I hadn't wrapped it around a fire hydrant. As we go through, look around the garage, good view here. We got the obligatory thing. There's the doors, the obligatory Shell gas pump. the neons. And then as we go into projects, it's currently in the garage, and there's other cars, but they're not here at the moment. So this one is my currently day-to-day driver, 2017 330. I've modified this with, I'm done with this one as a project. So we upgraded everything. It has an ECS tune to about 320 horses, downpipe, intake. Let's see, Bilstein, 16 the coilover kits. It's been lowered, so we upgraded the brakes and just about everything. So that's my daily driver right now. But as we were looking over here in the background, we have another project. So I've got a couple of these 06 325s. This one we were the second owner of, and this one died at about 230,000 miles, but I decided to keep it. So we're going to take this project, start taking it apart, sell off some of the parts. But what we're going to do here is we're going to build us a ute. So that's the inspiration for what's going on here. And as Patrick noted earlier, being able to have, a lot of living space within your garage is actually, pretty good. So you'll see, you got Barrett Jackson playing up there. This little corner over here, sorry, I'm going to swing around. Might be a little too fast for some of you. So this corner over here is some of the 1/18 scale stuff, starting with the BMWs, and then going into my Viper collection, and then the Porsche cabinet over here. And then as we start looking around, you see up on the walls, we have all the BMW posters. Then as we start to go over here, we have, well, this is the Hot Wheel collection. So, and there's the BMWs. They're all in there. Now going around the garage more, we start to go back. This is the door to the house. More of the 118s. And then we go back towards this direction, and there's the restroom inside the it's all car themed or what have you. Payphone. Everybody needs a payphone in the bathroom. Then go back. We have the shop back here. So this is where a lot of the other work gets done. And again, just like Patrick, the black, blue, and the white. So we still have the BMW themes, even from the pegboards down to the granites from the countertop to the black cabinets. And then I have most everything over here organized in drawers, and most of them are labeled. So I'm working on. So after trying to learn the garage for the last couple of years, I keep moving things around. It's actually working out pretty good for us. So this is my garage, Jeff's Last Garage. I'm in Columbia, Maryland. For club members that are in the area, contact me, and if you need to use the lift, let me know. We can see if we can schedule something. So, Jeff's Last Garage.
Thanks so
Hey,
much,
Jeff.
Jeff.
How much? Oh, sorry, Todd.
No, good. Go
Jeff,
ahead, Paul.
we had a couple of questions for you, Jeff. How much floor space? How much for your garage?
Well, the floor space, we've got about 800 square feet, but the volume is almost 2 stories, being at 14 feet. So it's got a pretty big volume. Again, cost, I really couldn't put a peg on it because it's basically just another room in the house. Oh, somebody's asked to see how the doors open. All right, give me a second here. I will push the buttons, and then I'll step back for them to open. So one slides over the other one. That's how they work.
Hey, Jeff, we had another question. Where did you get the wall-mounted display cases for your for the cars?
That's good. Unfortunately, they don't make them anymore, but these particular ones right here, these are IKEA. So I haven't been able to find them there for years. But if you look on Wayfair, I think they have something very similar to it. Otherwise, like this one over here, I actually made this one. This one right here. My wife it used to be just a table, and then she broke the glass top, but the bottom of it was very solid, pretty heavy, and I said I'll just keep it and make a display case out of it. So I built that one. Some of my favorites though are the blue ones over here. These are off of eBay, and they're fairly inexpensive. And so these hold a lot of the 164 and the 143 collection. And right there we go. So the BMWs in the collection. Back to you, Paul.
We had another question here, Jeff. Would a draftsman serve most pre-existing design needs instead of an architect?
Yes. Yes, you don't actually need an architect. You need a draftsman. Yeah, just anybody who can draw it and could do a good set of plans. I think the basic rule is if you're building a house that's over 5,000 square feet, you need an architect. Otherwise, you don't need that. So just get a draftsperson.
All right, Todd.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think there were some other questions that that came in. One of the ones from Harlan, can somebody talk about the hex lights, the size and costs of them?
I'm happy to. I bought mine off of Wayfair. I bought 2 sets, and they were about $650 each. So your lighting cost of just buy one of the systems. The one is the large one. That's a $650 unit there off of Wayfair. Then for an electrician to install it into an existing residence, it took them a good day to do it because they had to put it on the ground, hook it all up, make sure it all worked, and then they had to go up above the ceiling and then figure out where they're putting it all in. So it was you're gonna have to pay an electrician at least 1 or 2 days worth of work, probably 2 if they haven't done anything like it before. So figure that cost in.
And my cost was similar. I think it was like $2,000. I had 2 banks of lights, and I think it was about $2,000 total.
Thanks. One quick follow-up on that, Patrick and Jeff. Did you design the hex lighting as part of your garage in the beginning, or was that added after when you were just kind of considering lighting options?
Mine was from the beginning.
Mine was from the beginning as well. I saw it in another shop, and I was like, "Oh, that would be so cool to have," and it's part of the original design. Yeah.
Thanks. If we have other questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat or come off mute and ask a question.
I have one question that I want to throw out there, and we'll give this question to Melissa and Zach. So what's your favorite part of your garage, and why did you choose it, and what were some of the factors that went into making that decision?
So I think the favorite part is maybe not an actual physical part, but more the abstract part. It's the fact that the people, like all of our friends, come here to hang out and to fix cars and the time spent in the garage. So that's what we kind of really centered the garage around for storage and also for the uses that I mentioned earlier.
All right, same question for Jeff.
Well, I now that they've said that, I'd say number one is certainly the fact that so many people seem to show up and want to play with cars. Yeah, that's cool. I'm good with that. If this is forward, you'll stay caution. We'll talk about cars. Just awesome here, bud. Anyway, the other one I guess I would have to say is the bathroom, because now nobody has to go into the house to use a bathroom. My wife was never particularly thrilled about that one. So the bathroom was actually a great addition.
All right, Patrick, how about you?
I mean, I think it's actually very similar, so I'm not going to sound much different. I think this notion of multi-use space, both a space where, you know, people who love cars come and visit, but if you take the cars out of the garage, you can actually, you know, I've turned it into a drive-in theater for my wife. I said, I'm not going to take you to the drive-in anymore. They don't have them anymore. We'll just drive my car in, we'll put down the garage doors, and we'll turn on the TV. But joking aside, I just think the ability to take this, if you're going to use this much space, to not just have it be a functional garage, but also have it be a little bit of an entertainment area or a meeting area, just for guys and gals to hang out. That to me is like the upside of this. It's not just a garage. It's kind of becomes almost like a hub room.
It's a living space. It's
Yeah.
it's a neighborhood space too, because I live in a little tight spot here. So, you know, neighbors know my doors are open all the time, and you know, it just, you know, people just kind of float in.
Well, Jeff, I have yet to float in, so I need to do that pretty soon because it's been a few years since you moved back here and built your dream home, and I definitely would love to get out there one of these days. Actually, same thing for Patrick. If I'm ever in New York, I got to get up there. And Melissa, you're not too far away. You guys have some great hideouts to kind of hang out and do some fun, cool stuff with the cars. Todd, did you have anything else you wanted to have questions on or bring up?
Sure. Just Paul, I think similar question along the lines of what you asked. Any future plans for any of the presenters' garages, or things that you want to upgrade or change, or always kind of looking. I found with my garage, it's you get it to a point, but there's always something that you want to do next to keep improving it. And so, we'd love to hear any further thoughts and insights on that.
Well, personally, I'm maxed out here on space, but it has crossed my mind that when the neighbor's house goes up for sale, I might buy that and tear it down to expand my garage.
So my garage is relatively new. So we completed, August, September of last year. So I'm still trying to sort of figure things out. I think the next big trigger is what's the next car that I'm going to get that is going to then allow me to begin a negotiation with my family around garage expansion, but I don't know what it is yet.
Oh, I forgot to mention also, just like Patrick, I have 2 EV plugs in here now too.
For us, it was hard to see in the nighttime. Our driveway coming into the garage is gravel, so we plan on blacktop that one to make it a little bit easier. And then also maybe a 4-post, so we can store one car on the other side of the garage, so we can have an extra like storage space. So we can put an extra car in to keep it out of the weather.
So Melissa, let's stay with you for a second. So if you had one word of an advice, or what one thing for someone who's looking to kind of start their own ultimate garage, what would that advice be?
Whatever size you think you want to build, it's never big enough. It's never ever big enough, because you're going to have more cars or more stuff that you don't anticipate having. So it's never big enough. So give yourself a plan B and think of the future more than what you may think you want to.
I got to pile onto that because she's incredibly right. I had a CL600 a few months ago, Mercedes, which is, built on an S-Class chassis. And frankly, I'm glad I got rid of the damn thing. But it was too big. I mean, it was in the garage and it was like, that's just too big. So, all of a sudden, a couple of the cars that I thought I might have in the future are now out because, well, they're just too big.
I think you guys said it well. I think, 2 things are, I showed a page that had the design objectives. I think having those as kind of your true north if you're starting a project is very helpful. But then you have to be willing, to make trade-offs and be flexible as you go through planning, and more importantly during construction, where bleep happens during construction, and you just have to be flexible. I think having that North Star of what are my objectives, what's paramount for me, are just important when you're doing a garage build.
Yeah, you also have to grow with it because after you move in, you start moving things around. Things are starting to get a little different. You're adding things. So you got to live with and kind of grow with your garage for a couple of years to kind of get it and understand it.
Yep, all really good insights. We did have another question from the chat from Dan. Dan said, what was the greatest challenge each of you faced planning during planning or construction?
Well, for me, Jeff, it was when they told me that I was in the easement and I had to cut the corner off my garage. That was then, you don't just cut a corner off, because when you do that, then all the trusses don't line up. I mean, it's just a mess after that. So, yeah, wherever you are building, learn the environment. If there are easements around, it's going to be easier to plan if you kind of know what you're building upon.
Yeah, other than the natural pains of contractor management that you get with any construction, and it didn't have any big challenges. I will go back to something I shared earlier, which was, sometimes you're halfway through construction and we sort of looked and we could see that what we were doing with trying to retain existing trees was just hampering the full potential of the garage. And so we did make a mid-course correction where we took out a row of trees, and that's what allows where you saw those cars parked tonight, that's like a 25-foot driveway in front of the garage. Previously in the design, that was 15 feet. So we were able to extend by another 10 feet. And I'm so happy that we did that, because getting in and out of the garage would have just been very different with a shorter runway than the way we ended up doing it. And, it did mean the heartbreaking go chop down 4 or 5 trees, but it was absolutely the right decision. So it's back to being agile, being a little bit flexible, and not just sticking to the plan.
And I think for us, it's the echo of what the other presenter said. It's the environment and the space that you're building in and understanding that. And the other part of it for us was because there was only so much space, so we had to do the best we could with that particular space. Like I said, with the rock and then the easement on the one side, and we wanted to make sure we had a decent driveway length in front of the actual building itself. So I think those are all the challenges to doing kind of like pre-work or homework before you start any construction. I think would be good advice going forward.
All great points. Thanks, everyone. We'll take 1 or 2 more
Can you
questions.
still
I
hear
think there
me?
was. Yes, there is. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, we
there is
can.
one other question I just saw that came through. That was the question about electrical. What I
Yes.
didn't show in this garage, considering all the neon lights and verifies everything else, was the planning for all the outlets that went into the garage. There are quad outlets every 8 feet on the walls in here. So that's what supports all the signs in here. So there's actually a pretty big electrical panel in here to accommodate all the signage.
Yeah, very similar. Because this is new construction, the good news is the rules on outlets I have outlets everywhere. And we did end up having to increase the size of our backup generator. We had to switch that out so it could accommodate this construction. Other than that, the wiring of the house, the natural wiring of the house, we didn't have to do any major upgrade there.
So our actually garage, it actually has a 60 amp service from the house that used to serve, it used to be for a hot tub for the house. We plan on actually upgrading that. I want to do at least a 200 amp service coming in. But however, for the time being, we actually have 4 outlets every 10 feet in the garage on every wall. So we have a good bit of power in here, but the next thing that comes into mind is if you ever plan on upgrading or doing anything with or having any electric vehicle or something like that, you definitely want a bigger service entrance just for that purpose. Pretty much as we looked at it is for what we're going to do, A 60 amp service, we're never going to use 60 amps at the same time all the time. And 7 years later, we've never tripped a breaker in the house whatsoever.
And I also want to add that all those outlets that I was just talking about, both the walls, the west wall and the east wall, are all on the same circuit. So they're all in one switch. So I can just go right here and turn everything off on that side. Same thing over here. I can just hit a switch and turn it all off in one switch.
Very nice. Well, I guess we're going to start to wrap now, but I wanted to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and special thanks to the presenters. I just Patrick, Melissa, Zach, Jeff, excellent presentations. Thanks so much for all the detail you shared and giving us a tour of the garage, and for taking the time out of your evenings to do this. So, Paul, over to you to go ahead and wrap things up.
Yeah, I didn't really have too much to add to wrap things up, but I want to, again, just like what Todd said, I appreciate the presenters, Jeff and Patrick and Melissa and Zach. You guys spent a lot of time pulling a lot of the content together, a lot of the pictures. We had plenty of planning calls on how this was going to all work out. You guys did an awesome job with the dry run last week, so you guys knocked it out the park. Looks like we got a lot of great feedback from a lot of other members. So you guys rocked it tonight. So thank you very much. I think number 5 webinar here worked out pretty well. And we hope to do one again, if not the end of this year, but maybe definitely same time next year. We will send out to those who registered tonight this recorded webinar. I actually did hit the record button, which is good, as well as the slides, so you all will have the details of all 3 presenters, all the pics and everything else. So I will send that out to everyone tomorrow. And again, if you have yet to join M Chapter, we definitely would love to have you guys. Email me with any questions you have. Check out our newsletter, our webpage, Facebook, social media, etc. And with that, I want to thank you guys for joining, and I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you. Thank you.